Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiong. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. In the previous episode, I discussed the foundational structure of China's political system. Contrary to being a fusion of socialism with a market-driven economy or a system rooted in China's traditional imperial culture, it is fundamentally based on the communist authoritarian system inherited from the former Soviet Union. To forecast the future of Chinese Communist Party (CCP), the most relevant historical reference point is the former Soviet Union. By applying this logic, we can identify three potential trajectories for China's future. The first significant possibility and the most optimistic scenario resembles the event of October 1976, when the Gang of Four was overthrown. In Chinese history, this is known as the smashing of the Gang of Four, essentially a political coup. While the likelihood of such an event is very low, it is not entirely implausible. This outcome presents the most favorable outlook. The second scenario entails the potential for a broad-ranging crisis, including financial, fiscal, economic, and social crisis. China is currently on the verge of a real estate and a debt bubble bursting. A substantial portion of China's debt is linked to mortgages, creating conditions that could lead to a significant financial crisis. It's essential to remember that China's economy is not purely market-driven. Various levels of the Chinese government have vested interests in the real estate market, and local governments have stakes in the banking sector. As a result, every level of government will use administrative measures to protect and extend the stability of the real estate and the banking sectors. These administrative tools can postpone a crisis, pushing it into the next year or even beyond. For example, in the real estate sector, properties may have perceived value, but there are few actual transactions, leading to stagnant housing prices with few buyers. What might happen in a situation where the real estate market has valuable assets but lacks transactions? As properties remain unsold, the real estate developers would face successive bankruptcies, resulting in the disappearance of private enterprises in the real estate sector. Only state-owned enterprises would remain, and this scenario would resemble the Soviet system, reverting to a state-controlled economy with a planned economic model. State-owned enterprises avoid bankruptcy due to government backing, with the government assuming their debts. To make an analogy, private enterprises resemble healthy cells, while state-owned enterprises act like cancer cells. As private business gradually decline and are supplanted by these cancerous state-owned entities, society effectively contracts an incurable ailment. When cancer cells dominate the entire system, it results in its demise. Originally, business closures were part of a natural metabolic process. Poorly performing companies shut down, allowing more efficient ones to thrive, fostering a prosperous society. However, in the current scenario, as private business shutters, societal resources are absorbed by less efficient state-owned entities. This trajectory only leads to the decline of society as a whole. Let's illustrate this with a concrete example. In August, China's largest real estate firm, Country Garden, found itself unable to cover the interest payments on two loans totaling $22.5 million. In the past, such a sum would have been a mere drop in the bucket for Country Garden. But the fact that even such a colossal corporation is struggling to meet a relatively modest interest obligation is telling. This echoes the situation faced by Evergrande, another major private real estate player 2 years ago. These private sector giants are slowly but surely faltering. This is evident that they are facing significant challenges. In contrast, state-owned real estate enterprises are rapidly expanding. If this trajectory persists, the role and influence of private enterprises will continue to diminish. You might be curious about China's internet companies, digital economy firms, and high-tech corporations such as Tencent, Alibaba, and JD.com. On these mostly privately owned businesses, does the market economy still maintain a strong hold in the technology sector? Perhaps when it comes to the internet and the technology sectors in isolation, they may continue to thrive for a while. However, the current challenge we are facing is an overall economic decline in China. It's important to understand that the internet and high-tech sectors alone cannot rescue the entire Chinese economy. Even if the CCP doesn't intervene with these private enterprises, they won't be capable of rescuing the entire economy. Irrespective of how much innovation these internet companies bring, they cannot rejuvenate the economy. When the entire economic landscape is shrinking, internet companies also face challenges in generating profits as reflected in their recent financial reports. The era of internet and tech companies making substantial profits has come to an end. The current sentiment within the CCP is marked by significant complexity. While it depends on private enterprises to alleviate its economic issues, there is also apprehension that the expansion of these private firms might foster color revolutions and pose a threat to the regime's stability. From the perspective of private business owners, they find themselves in a precarious balancing act where a misstep could have dire consequences. Now the question that needs addressing is the actual condition of the Chinese economy. Is it indeed standing on the verge of a complete crisis as previously discussed? This query arises because when examining statistics presented by the CCP, they consistently employ optimistic phrases such as long-term improvement, stable growth, and high-quality development. They assure that the economic growth rate for this year will reach 5.5%. Does this suggest that the Chinese economy is truly as troubled as portrayed? There are two aspects to consider. The first aspect concerns the reliability of economic data. In 2019, Professor Chang Tai-shih from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and a group of fellow scholars released a research paper. In this study, they re-evaluated China's economic data using detailed micro-level data. Their findings revealed a notable trend. Generally, the official economic data provided by China each year, particularly the GDP figures, needed to be adjusted downward by approximately 2% to align with a more accurate estimate. So if the official report indicated an 8% growth, a more realistic estimate would be around 6%. And if it claimed 6%, a more credible figure would be closer to 4%. This research was published in 2019, but the situation has evolved significantly, particularly due to the impact of the pandemic and notably over the past year. Historically, the National Bureau of Statistics in China maintained a relatively professional and diligent approach to its work. As a standard practice, they would deduct approximately 2% from the GDP figures to bring them closer to the true economic situation. However, a significant shift became apparent starting from the previous year. Despite the actual economic contraction experienced in China during that period, the NBS persisted in reporting growth figures that substantially surpassed the 2% adjustment. Since last year, China's economic data has witnessed a further decline in reliability. The second aspect becomes evident when examining internal documents. Advisors and officials closer to Xi Jinping have become increasingly cautious in their statements, opting to withhold the truth. Some individuals within the Chinese Communist Party bureaucracy are well informed about the situation. For example, in 2014-2015, certain bureaucrats held a very pessimistic outlook, even during a time when the rest of the world was overwhelmingly optimistic about China. They foresaw significant problems on the horizon. However, as we fast forward to today, these same officials are expressing a much more optimistic views than they did in the past. What does this indicate? It suggests that those with knowledge of the actual situation have become apprehensive, resulting to deceptive language and vague statements. This further complicates the issue. Since Xi Jinping assumed power, he has consistently consolidated central authority by diminishing the influence of local governments. In reality, local government officials have been less motivated and dedicated since around 2013, which poses significant risks. Additionally, the real estate bubble has inflated to a point where there is little room for further debt accumulation. Presently, many local governments are struggling to meet their financial obligations, including interest payments. The Chinese Communist Party is confronting unparalleled challenges with limited solutions in sight. Just like the Soviet Union, disintegration might be an inevitable outcome. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.